There's a plane called the Cessna 172. 4 seats, 1 engine, takes off from basically any small airfield. And then there's the Airbus A380. 2 full floors, around 600 seats, 2 shower spas, shared between 14 first-class passengers, like actual showers, hot water, on a plane, and an onboard bar. I don't know why Emirates thought that's a good idea, but okay. Airbus spent $25 billion making sure you could have one if you wanted. The Wright brothers flew for 12 seconds in 1903, 120 feet. That's where this started, and now there's a flying building with a bar on it. How did this actually happen? December 17th, 1935. New airplane, first flight. Somehow carries 21 people. The plane was the Douglas DC-3, and before it, airlines survived on government mail contracts. Passenger revenue alone wasn't enough. The DC-3 changed that. First airliner that could actually make money just on passengers. No subsidies, no mail. By 1939, 90% of all commercial air traffic in the world was on a DC-3 or something like it. But propeller engines have limits. To get bigger, aviation needed something completely different. The Boeing 707, 1958, around 150 passengers, way more than the DC-3, and it flew above the weather, faster, smoother. The major airlines switched over within a few years. And then a loop started. Bigger planes made flying cheaper. Cheaper flights meant more passengers. More passengers meant airlines needed even bigger planes. By the 1960s, demand was growing so fast, nobody could keep up with it. And early jet travel was actually kind of glamorous. Wider seats than anything before, real food on proper plates, stewardesses in tailored uniforms. Flying felt like an event. People dressed up for it. But the experience still had this one problem. The 707 made multiple stops. London to New York could mean a refueling stop in Newfoundland, fighting headwinds the whole way back. You're on a plane for hours, squeezed in, boarding again halfway through. The glamour wore off fast when you had to get off and get back on at midnight in Canada. One person decided he was going to fix that by making the plane so big it never needed to stop. Pan Am's Juan Trippe went to Boeing in the mid-1960s and said, "Build me the biggest plane you can imagine." Boeing said yes, and then realized what they had agreed to. The 747 required a factory so large that Boeing had to build it before they could build the plane. The Everett facility in Washington, constructed specifically for the 747, was the largest building by volume ever constructed on Earth. Inside, Boeing designed an aircraft twice the size of anything flying, with engines that didn't yet exist, in under 3 years. Between the 747's costs and the US government canceling Boeing's supersonic program at the same time, the company came perilously close to bankruptcy. A real estate agent put a billboard up in Seattle in 1971 that read, "Will the last person leaving Seattle turn out the lights?" The 747 entered service with Pan Am in January 1970. Over 400 passengers, more than double the 707. Nothing like it had ever flown before. And airports had absolutely no idea what to do with it. Existing terminals were built for much smaller aircraft. Gates were too narrow, jet bridges too short, runways in some cases too weak to handle the weight. Airports around the world spent years and billions scrambling to keep up. New terminals, new gates, reinforced runways. The plane arrived before the infrastructure did. Some airports took close to a decade to fully adapt. And what that actually meant for the person buying a ticket? Non-stop, both ways, London and back, no Newfoundland, no getting off the plane halfway. And with 400 people sharing the cost, fares dropped. Flying went from something wealthy people did to something a regular family could actually afford to plan a vacation around. Bigger meant cheaper, bigger meant direct, bigger meant better. And that held true for 30 years. So if bigger kept meaning better, how far could you actually take that? Airbus watched the 747 dominate for 3 decades, and in 2000 they decided to out 747 Boeing. The A380. Wings from the UK, fuselage from Germany, France, Spain, all shipped to Toulouse, sections so enormous that French towns had to be physically modified for the road convoys. Trees removed overnight, streets widened. And then in Toulouse, 2 engineering teams realized their wiring, 320 miles of it, had been designed in 2 different software versions. The cables didn't fit. Everything had to be redesigned. 2 years lost, billions gone. The A380 entered service in 2007. 2 full decks, only jet airliner ever built that way. The biggest passenger plane in history. Airbus forecast demand for over 1,000 very large aircraft like it over the next 20 years, expecting hundreds of those to be A380s. Emirates alone ordered over 100. For a moment, it looked like the bet might actually pay off. It didn't. The plane was outstanding. Passengers loved it. The problem was the idea underneath it. Through the 1980s and 90s, regulators gradually extended how far twin-engine jets could fly from a diversion airport, eventually letting them cross any ocean. A modern twin now does the same routes as the A380 while burning roughly 20 to 30% less fuel per seat. And when you're running 100 flights a day, that gap adds up to billions. At the same time, passengers started preferring direct flights over connecting through mega-hubs. The whole hub-and-spoke model assumes you're fine flying into Dubai or Frankfurt just to transfer. Increasingly, people weren't. And the A380 only worked financially when it was consistently full. 500 plus seats on a bad route is a disaster. Even Emirates, the airline that bought more A380s than anyone and basically built its entire brand around the plane, eventually started ordering 787s and A350s instead. And then there were the airports. The A380 was so large and so heavy that airports had to physically rebuild themselves to accept it. Reinforced taxiways, specially designed double jet bridges to board both decks at once, wider gates. Heathrow alone spent around £450 million upgrading for the A380. A lot of airports looked at that bill and said no. In the end, only around 140 airports worldwide were compatible with regular A380 service, which meant the universe of viable routes was far smaller than Airbus had ever projected. The A380 was the perfect answer to a question the industry had quietly stopped asking. Last new order 2018. Production ended 2021. So, aviation's been doing long narrow-body routes before. The Boeing 757 was flying transatlantic from the 1990s. The A321XLR, which entered service in late 2024, is basically its modern replacement. Way more range, same basic idea. New York to most of Europe, direct, non-stop. Routes that couldn't exist before are expected to open up. Smaller cities getting direct connections that used to require a hub. That part's actually good for passengers. But you're doing it in a tube. 6 seats across, 1 aisle, same cabin width as a plane designed in the 1980s. For 7 to 10 hours depending on the route. Less room to walk around, fewer bathrooms, narrower than any wide-body you've been on. The people who flew the A380 remember having 2 aisles, space overhead, room to actually stand without blocking someone. That's gone on these routes now. Small, cramped planes with stops, then big, comfortable planes with no stops. Now, small, cramped planes with no stops.